I'm driving my BMW down to Las Vegas to roll the dice and gamble a little bit, but not at any casinos. I'm driving down to compete in a series called Bimmer Challenge, an all BMW time attack series hosted by Speed Ventures. We will be competing in Las Vegas Motor Speedway using the outer road course layout. The gamble here is I'm not towing my car down. I'm driving my 1 Series from Logan, Utah, the tippy top of Utah, all the way down to Las Vegas, and then driving back after a weekend of racing. Will my car make it? Let's find out. First was get the easy part out of the way, and that was to drive to Las Vegas. So we got on my 1 Series and hit the road. Now the nice thing with the 1 Series is I was able to fit my race wheels and tires in the back, and tools in the trunk, and all my clothing and stuff in the passenger seat. And realistically, I could have fit all that stuff in the trunk as well. But it's really cool to be able to pack all the stuff into the car and just drive down. I don't need an extra trailer, or I don't need a truck to load all the extra tires into. Bimmer Challenge has their own rule set for classing. They have a calculator on their website where you start with your car and then check off what modifications you have done, and from there you will be assigned a class based off the number of points you accumulate. The B5 class maxes out at 2 points, and that's where my 128i classed. I noticed if I ran RC1s or Toyo RRs, I was at a 1.5 point deficit, but if I ran a Super 200 like the Falcon RT660 or Yokohama AO52, I maxed it out at 2.0. I figured if I'm going to travel this far and compete, I might as well give it my best shot I had, even if it meant melting off a brand new set of tires in a weekend. The tires I'm taking are the new Bridgestone RE71 RS, released at the end of last year, and definitely the tire to have if you're competitive at SCCA autocross events. I did 1 autocross already, and this is easily the fastest tire I've ran on this car. The best way I can describe this tire is imagine you're driving on a tire like the Falcon RT660 at the limit, and suddenly the tire magically transforms into this new Bridgestone. You would now be able to add 10 more degrees of steering angle and the car would turn in further. They are fast. The downside is, since this seems to be marketed at autocrossers, I'm not sure how they'll wear in a road course environment. So even though I'm competing in the Bimmer Challenge, Speed Ventures had other time attack series going on as well. They have one called the 86 Cup for all the GT86 cars. They also have the Corvette Challenge for a bunch of different Corvettes. What I'm saying is there was a big diversity of vehicles along with a lot of cool BMWs. Let me show you guys some of the cool ones I saw there. So if you're a BMW fan, it was like being a kid in a candy factory. Just look at these cool cars. And then on top of that, look at this E46 wagon. This E46 wagon was S54 swapped from the M3. Now in Utah, I don't see Evos on the track that often, so it's cool to see these pair of Evos out there. They're either 8s or 9s, I'm not 100% sure, but you can see the 4G63s, and they were out there ripping all day. Now this E30 was in my class, and I was just drooling over it all weekend. Such a good looking E30, so cool. This team, Go Gear Racing, came out and just flexed on everyone. You can see they have a cool Hyundai Genesis Coupe for track. They have a bunch of cool Hondas. They even had this E90 sedan they were racing that I believe was also S54 swapped. Super cool. I am so infatuated with this car, especially you guys know me, I like JDM wheels and JDM parts on German cars. I mean, obviously SSRs here, but this thing just looks so well done, so good. So we're about 4 minutes into this video and we haven't done any racing yet, so let's go up for our first session. And before we start our first session, one thing I was having trouble with was figuring out where to brake on the main straightaway. I watched a bunch of videos of the course and kind of got an idea of how it's laid out, but I wanted to give it my best shot just because I know that morning session is going to be my fastest, and those tires I have are going to be the fastest when they're cool. So I really wanted to maximize my first couple of laps out. So I went over to the barriers and watched where people were braking just to get a good idea, and it looked like right by those tires is when you start braking. So from there, we just went out and did our session. So let's go through the track and I'll kind of walk you guys through the whole lap. I'm just going to follow some cars and get an idea of what the driving line is like. Watching videos, it looks pretty straightforward, honestly. I'm mostly curious about braking zone on turn 1, and then there's a big sweeper. We'll need to figure out if I have to lift with this car or not. So this is my first lap with the green flag. So we're foot to the floor, I click 4th gear. I'm not going 10/10ths pace, I'm probably going like 7 to 8/10ths pace. We brake a little after the tires actually, just due to that. And this right-hander is very simple, point and shoot, turn the car in, back to throttle as fast as you can. A little oversteer, the tires were still cold. This next corner though, we want to trail brake and get the car to rotate towards a late apex. From there, if we can achieve that, we can go foot to the floor, we don't have to lift through this left-hander, and we just keep our foot matted. So we're coming up to this little right-hander that turns into a big left-hander. So you'll see it jogs to the right with curbing, then left-hander. Now what I do here is called a diamond line. I didn't do very well in this video, but that's the goal. Diamond line has 2 apexes for 1 corner, just like the image shown, the little dots drewn by yours truly. Now this next corner is deceiving. You can't see it in the video, nor can you visually see it, but there's a hump in the braking zone. So if you brake where you think you need to, you're actually going to be braking too late because you'll either trigger your ABS or lock up your brakes because of the little hump there that's going to upset the car. So you're going to miss your apex. So you have to brake a little earlier knowing that. Now this is the back straightaway. It's straightforward. You keep your foot to the floor. This right-hander coming up though, I wasn't sure if I could keep my foot to the floor, and I try to work up through it the whole day. And same thing with this left-hander, it's tricky. I'm like, can I keep my foot to the floor? I don't know if I can. I don't know if the car can do it, but we work with it. Now there's this bus stop here, you left-right chicane through the curbing, brake a little bit through there, or not, depends on what kind of car you're in. Back to this, what I'm calling a U-turn. Even though it's not a U-turn, there's a lot of directional changes. I mean, I guess a racetrack is all you're doing is directional changes, but you know what I mean. Now, we have this other right-hander coming up right here. I had to lift, turn in, and go, and the goal was to minimize how much I lift through the day. Now, we go left, right coming up here. The curbing, you might want to hit so you can have your braking line a little straighter, but it's going to be a test of your dampers. That leads us to the second last corner of the track, this wide sweeping left-hander. We want to set this up properly so we can set up the right-hander that leads us to the straight. So we might be able to get a faster mid-corner speed through there, but we'll compromise our last corner, which we really want to get a good exit speed out of that to really maximize our straightaway speed. So after that first session, we did a 207.1. Now my competition in B5 is driving E36 M3, and he did a 206.1. So I know I have more time in the car because I wasn't near the limit of the tires, and the other issue I was having was traffic. The traffic was terrible on track, so it was really hard to get a clean lap. So in the next sessions, my biggest goal is to maximize the grip of these tires and to get a clean lap in, but first we were actually having an issue with the tires. So after the first session, I was getting this really weird center rib wear on the tire. Had me really concerned because these tires literally only had 1 autocross on them, and that is it. And now they had 1 session from a track day and they're wearing very oddly. So to remedy, I'm going to try lowering the tire pressure through the day because it looks like center rib wear, which is usually indicative of too high of tire pressure. So we're going to drop the tire pressure a little bit and see what happens. For session 2, we were putting grid based off of our prior session's times. I was 6th in line, but unfortunately, this didn't help with traffic management. And another issue I had was that I wasn't in the same session as my competitors. In fact, we were all in different advanced sessions. What this means is I could have a better or worse session than the others based off of one reason or another, which removes an element of a level playing field. But the real enemy was traffic. Nah, we're not getting a good lap. Just go. So I hung out in the back and finally got somewhat of a clean run up on the straightaway. So we come through turn 1, flying, point, shoot, back on throttle and go. Now I'm already catching up to this Hyundai Veloster, which I kind of turned in a little too early here, but I still had a lot more momentum than him. Luckily, on the outside, I was able to just go through and pass, and it looked like they lifted, so I just went right by and kept going. I don't think this really hurt my lap time too much. So coming up to turns 4 and 5, I caught up to the Z4. It looked like they were doing a cooldown lap, so they gave me the point. I got by right on exit, so that was nice. I didn't have to compromise too much there. At this point, this turn, I was just tapping the brake a little bit and turning in, and then I was keeping my foot matted through this left-hander. And as we approached the bus stop, I was getting to the point where I didn't need the brakes. I just did a slight lift and hit the curve pretty hard and got back to throttle really quick. This right-hander here, I figured I could just lift very lightly, turn in, and then get back to throttle once I saw the corner exit, which brought me a lot more speed coming into these next two corners, making the braking very tricky. This big, wide sweeper carousel type corner was still kind of tricky, and I haven't found the perfect line through it yet, but I did know to at least finish it the way I did there so I could set up for the last corner really good. On this straightaway, we were clicking about 120, so we were moving pretty good. On this lap, I ended up doing a 2:05.7, which ended up putting me in first place for the day, but I knew there was a little more time if I just perfected everything else. As you can see from that session, the vastly different types of cars made it so we were getting in each other's ways. My car was faster in corners, but the other cars were faster in straights. This is one thing I really appreciate about my local NASA. I'm usually in sessions with TT5 and TT6 cars, and they split the TT4 and up cars into a different session. Traffic still happens, but not nearly as notorious as it was here. So with that said, we have one more session left for the day. Can we string together a clean lap without any interruptions from traffic? There we have it. We broke into the 204, securing first place for the day. I didn't think we would drop this much time, but as you saw from that lap, I had no traffic issues at all, which I think played a huge role in setting this time. Some other key things that helped me drop time were in a few sections. The bus stop. I committed to throttle through the whole thing and only had to brake for turn 8. It was kind of gnarly, and I was really standing on the brakes after. Then for turn 9, I figured the car would make it if all I did was lift to 80% throttle, turn in, and then roll back onto throttle once the car was pointed. It was kind of crazy because this is the most G's I've felt this car pull. and I was kind of worried I was going to damage the engine through this corner because I know if you pull too many G's in an N52 car, you can oil starve it. But it looks like it made it through just fine, so we're good. And lastly, turn 12. I kept accelerating on entry to this carousel and braked midway through it, and as I braked I was able to reel the car into the apex. I think this might be the fastest way through this section. So with day 1 of Bimmer Challenge over, we head back to our hotel for the night and get ready for tomorrow. Now, seeing that we did a 2:04 in the late afternoon tells me that I should be able to go faster in a morning session when the temps are cooler. We also have some different competitors in B5 tomorrow, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for day 2 of Bimmer Challenge Las Vegas. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.